Have you been wanting to start playing BG3, but you're just kind of overwhelmed by all that's going on in this game? I have about 200 hours in this game, 40 of that being from the full version, the rest from early access, and I'd like to share with you some lessons I've learned along the way. So one of the things that I've learned from being in many combat situations now is to not forget about your bonus actions. This is something that is so easy to do when you're in the thick of it, but they're actually really important. So for example, I've just hit this intellect devourer, and my automatic reaction here is to just end the turn, right? I have done my attack, that's my main action. I don't need to heal, so what could I really be doing here? Well, there's actually a couple things. If you look at the bottom left-hand corner of this primary panel here, you'll see that there are a couple options that are still highlighted, meaning I can still use them. And if you hover over them, you'll see that they're each labeled as a bonus action. Now, just as a reminder, every time that you are in combat, you are allotted an action and a bonus action, unless there are any kind of conditions on you that would prevent you from taking either of those, such as just coming up from being prone. All right, so I have the jump bonus action, the dip, and the shove. So jumping is not a good thing to do here, because if I do, I am going to get hit with an opportunity attack. And the way I can see that is because of the arrow that comes up. Let me see if I can try to get it to come up again. This red arrow that's coming up is an indicator that to me that I am within melee range, and if I try to move away from them, I will trigger what is called an opportunity attack, and I don't really want to do that. However, what I can do is I can use this dip action here because I've got fire near me, and I can put my weapon in it, and now my weapon has the fire effect on it, so that I can potentially do extra damage to the enemy when I hit them because of that fire element on it. And now I can end my turn. Now, bonus actions don't need to be used all the times, and there may be times where it doesn't really make sense to use them, or maybe there's just one that doesn't make sense in that particular scenario. For instance, when I use the dip action over here, if that fire hadn't been available off to the side there, the only other thing I could have done with any kind of result would have been the shove. And sometimes you don't want to shove an enemy away because you want them close enough to you to swing at them. So another thing to keep in mind with bonus actions is that they aren't just the ones you see over in this left-hand corner of the panel, the jump, the dip, the shove. There are also spells that can be cast as bonus options. And one of those happens to be Healing Word. You can see it says bonus action at the bottom there. So in this circumstance, when Shadowheart is down to 4 health and taking a hit from either of these intellect devourers could put her down to 0, what would be a good idea is to use that healing. But we still want to get off an attack, right? We want to swing at one of these. In fact, we probably want to swing at this one because it's at 4 life, so we might be able to take it out. So let's do our attack first. There we go, and it's down. We can't attack this one too. We don't have 2 attacks. We're not a barbarian here. So we're going to use our bonus action Healing Word on ourselves here. And that's just another example of when you may want to take advantage of that bonus action available to you. Okay, another lesson learned, and this one is by playing the full game because it was not available in early access, but it's basically about getting organized. As we traverse the lands of Faerun, we're going to be picking up a lot of stuff. And I don't know about you guys, but as a player, I'm a bit of a hoarder. I just like to loot like everything. And it can get a little bit cluttered over time. This doesn't look too bad because this is obviously a brand new character, but it can get a little bit insane over time. So something to remember, if the items don't automatically go into these spaces, you have pouches now that can help you stay organized. So you're gonna start off with 3 automatically that you see here. This is your keychain, your alchemy pouch, and your camp supply pack. You should have a couple other pouches coming to you as well. Once you go to camp, you should see a specially colored chest that has the digital deluxe items in there for you, and it'll have a couple more of these pouch-like items. But when you first start off, this is what you have. So this is just a reminder that you don't have to deal with this absolute cluster that is oftentimes your inventory over time. You can use these items to store things that belong in them. So in the alchemy pouch, as it says there, you store your ingredients and your extracts. The keychain is, of course, for keys, and that's really handy because you come across a lot of keys that, like, you use them once and you're done. And then the camp supply pack is for, of course, camp supplies. So that means not just the camp supply packs that look like this that you find around the world, but also all of the food and drink that count as camp supplies. This one is just a handy little trick that someone pointed out to me when I accidentally went into overhead view like this, and I was like, wow, what did I just press? I don't know how I did that. My hand must have grazed that part of the keyboard, and I was like, I don't really like this view. This is a little disorienting to me. Now, some people will like it like this, and that's perfectly fine, but for me, I rather see, you know, kind of behind the characters a little bit. I want to be able to adjust my view, and here I can't get it to go up or down. I can only rotate. So if you did this and you're like, ah, crap, how do I get out of this? Fortunately, it's very easy. All you have to do is press O, and voila, you are back to the default view, and you can scroll in and out again and kind of move things around. So you also use O to get into that. So basically think of O for overhead view, and then O to get back out of it. Very handy. Another little tidbit that I learned over time, and honestly I feel like I should have caught on to this sooner, is when you're leveling up your character and you want to multiclass, it may not be obvious, I know it wasn't to me, how you do that. So when you come to this level up screen, you see what has changed for this level, and you see what you need to do, if anything. But let's say you only want 1 level for Shadowheart and Cleric, and you want her to multi-class into being a rogue, for instance. And you're thinking, okay, where do I do that? Well, it's actually this icon right here. And I realize that for some people you may be thinking, really? You didn't notice that? There's like that shiny plus sign right there. Well, maybe my eyesight isn't as good as it used to be. Maybe your eyesight isn't as good as it used to be.
Emotional, damn it!
So it's good to know that the option is right here. So you just click on Add Class, and then you select the one you want. And as you can see, you can select any of them except the original one, of course, because you're adding a class. You're not just doing something with that already existing class. So you just take the one that you want. So we said we were going to get her into Rogue. We hit that. Go to abilities. Okay. And then we would just hit accept. And she would have the Rogue class as well. Now, if you change your mind and you say, you know what? Nah, I want Shadowheart to stay just a cleric for now. Not a problem. Just go back from this tab to where you add the class and just hit cancel. And you are back to your original screen and can continue with her level up as you were going to before. All right, another thing that I learned by experimentation is that if you've got 2 allies that have both lost some health and they are right near each other, like Shadowheart and Astarion here. Now, I know Astarion, he's rallied, so he didn't technically take damage yet, but for this example, let's just say he did. What you can do is you can actually hit them both with a healing potion. You have to go to your action throw, and you have to select the healing potion from your available items to throw. And as you can see, there's a whole lot of things you could potentially throw. And when you hover over someone, you're gonna see that the circle around them, it gets those spiky bits on it. Those blue spiky bits, whereas if I go away from it, it's just a regular blue circle again. So this is letting you know that they are targeted. Now, if you want to target 2 people, you just gotta make sure that you're not like directly targeting one or the other, but that you're getting somewhere in the middle. And the best way to ensure that you're actually hitting both of them isn't to like actually throw it right at someone, even though you can see that they're both highlighted as they should be targeted. Your best bet is to actually hit the ground. Hit the ground right between them. So like right about here between the 2 circles. And there you go. You can see that the potion impacted them both. So if you can get your allies arranged kind of close together, it depends on the combat scenario, obviously, but if you can get them close together when you know that 2 allies need to be healed around the same time, that's a way to kind of save some of those potions, is just take the one and just chuck it at the ground in between them. One of the most important things I've learned while playing BG3 is that Withers is a really crucial character, and the sooner you get him, the better. So the way that you get Withers, I'm going to bring up my map here, and it's just over in this area here. And actually, this is right near the beach that you woke up on. If you come down to this area of the map here, you woke up somewhere around this area right here on the map. So you may have even come across the door that I'm in front of right now when you were first starting to explore. Now, this is not the only way into the area. As you can see from the map here, there's also a path right past this roadside cliff waypoint where you can come in here and off to the side come in that way. So when you come in through this door, it is going to be locked. I've already unlocked it, so I'm just going to go straight in. Also, there are going to be enemies in this area, not directly in this room that you come into right here, but there are enemies throughout the dank crypts. In this room, if you're entering through the ancient door, there are some traps in here. If your characters have a decent perception, then they will be able to see them. You can see one right here. These can be pretty nasty if they're set off. Come through this room, and on the opposite side, these doors will initially be closed. So these heavy oak doors here, across from where you come in through that ancient door, is the room you want. So in this room here, there is going to be a fight. If you come over here to this corner, you're going to see a button there. That's curious. And you're going to need to press the button to open the door. And when you do this, that is going to cause the fight to start. So you're going to have to kill off all these skelly men here. So I'm going to do that quickly and then jump back in to show you how you get Withers. Alright, so once you finish the fight with the skelly men, you come back up into this corner here where you first pushed the button, and you come into this room here. And of course, make sure you loot everything. I guess an extra tip here, if you don't already know it, is that to make it easier, instead of clicking on each individual item to check it, you can hold down Alt, and that will let you see what is available. All right, so you want to open this tomb right here. And when you do such, it's going to trigger this cutscene. And this creepy skeleton that's rising out of there, this is Withers. Alright, so essentially you're going to have a little bit of a conversation with Withers, and no matter how you handle this conversation, he will end up agreeing to go to your camp. And that is exactly what you want. So every time that you go to camp after meeting with Withers, he is going to be there. And he does a couple really important things for you. So one of those really important things is respecking. So let's say this paladin character that I've taken along, I decide, you know what, I'm not really digging paladin. I want to try being a sorcerer instead. Well, if I go to Withers, I can do that. I can respec my class, I can respec my subclass, I can respec my ability points. So I can totally change the makeup of my character when I go to Withers. So that's one really important thing. The other very important thing is resurrection. So I don't know if you've noticed, but revivify scrolls, they're not all over the place, right? They're not the easiest things to come by. So Withers will do resurrections for you of your primary character and your companion characters for 200 gold at a time. Might sound like a lot of money, but honestly, with all the stuff you found strewn around Faerun to sell, it's really not going to be that bad, and it's really helpful to have because you don't want to have to use a revivify scroll every time someone goes down. You're going to want to hold on to them for some really tough moments that will come later on in the game. So once you finish the conversation with him, like I said, he's gonna totter on off, and when you go to camp, you will find him there. There he is. So like I said, you go up to him and you're going to have some initial conversation here before those services actually open up to you. But the most important are the respecking and the resurrection. However, there is one more service he can offer you, and that is basically giving you access to mercenaries or hirelings. So if you didn't want to use some of the origin characters, your companions, or maybe they died and you don't have the money to resurrect them right now, but you just need someone to fill that hole, although you'd have to lose a couple of them for that to happen. But let's just say things have gone horribly wrong and you've lost several of them. You could come to him and get a hireling to fill in the blank in the meantime. All right, next tip up is Scratch, and Scratch is this good boy right here. And where you find him is, it's not too far from the area where you get the quest to hunt down Karlach. We're actually right near the Owlbear Cave. If I just backtrack just a little bit here, you can see that right down here is the Owlbear Cave. And all you need to do is just take this cragged rock formation up and just go straight across, and you'll find Scratch there with his dead master. So the reason you want to get Scratch early on is because you can build a relationship with him over time, which will eventually lead to him being summonable. So the sooner you can get him in, the better, and then you can give him pets and love, and he will love you back. Just keep in mind, though, that before you approach Scratch, you are going to need Speak with Animals active. Now, right now, I don't have Speak with Animals for any of my characters here, so I'm not actually going to go through the motions of talking to him, but you do need that active. If you can't converse with him and try to gently convince him that, hey, your master's dead, why don't you come to my camp? It's not going to work. So just keep that in mind, have it active, go talk to him, and be kind about the way you try to convince him to join the camp. If you're not kind about it, it may not work. Okay, and I've got one more for you this video. Let's bring up the map once again, show you where I'm at. So I am pretty close right now to the area where you hunt down Karlach, even closer than before. And you have to come through this path right here, which you will get into an encounter with some hyena and gnolls. But there's an even harder, actually significantly harder gnoll fight that is very close to this area here. And something that I found out through just kind of trial and error is that there is an easier way to take on that really hard gnoll fight. And the way to do that is to come into this cave here. So you're going to come down this cliff face here. You're going to come into this cave, and you do have to be careful. Walk carefully here, because there's a trap. And setting off that trap could very well kill someone. So I'm going to see if I can disarm the trap. Just barely made it. Okay, there's one more. Nope, didn't quite make it on that one. And that's why you gotta be careful with those traps, because if you fail or if you accidentally set it off, a big boulder comes down on you. So once you get past that annoying part, you don't have to worry about traps anymore. Come to this, you're gonna have to jump over. And when you come to this part right here, your journal's gonna be updated with a quest, and you're gonna see two guys here right towards the edge. And if you bring your camera up, you can see the gnolls on the other side. So this is the big gnoll fight, the really difficult one. But if you come up here, a couple things. One thing is you'll actually get them to help. If you approach the gnoll fight from the road, they're not going to help. They're going to say, okay, they've got it, and they're going to run off. So by doing it this way, you're going to get help from these two guys, and you're going to have a little bit of a border kind of helping out because they keep throwing bottles of probably alchemist fire here. So they're taking some damage before they even come in. And it's just giving you a little bit more shelter. You've also got this ledge here that you could bring an archer or a wizard or someone with ranged attacks up here to do rain damage down on them. This is just generally a better setup for doing this Gnoll fight. I found it significantly easier to approach it this way. All right, and one bonus item for you, and just note that this is a glitch at the time of recording. I'm hoping that this is something that Larian can get fixed, but if you had the digital deluxe edition and you opened up this specially colored chest here in camp and took out nice looking purple clothing and you put it on your character, you may be running into an issue soon if you haven't already, where when you go to camp and you end the day, which I'm going to do here, but just so you know, the issue's not going to come up because my character is wearing other clothes. You would end the day, and all of a sudden, your character would be stark nude, and you'd be like, wait a minute, what the heck's going on here? I put clothes on them. And if you checked your inventory, you would see, oh, those clothes they're just gone. They're just not there. So, tip for you for now until the issue is fixed, make sure you've got some other clothing available for you. I know it's tempting to just sell them or throw them away once you've got the nice purple clothes, which is something I did with another character, but lesson learned, have some other clothes available for you because these will not have any problems showing up and they will not disappear from your inventory. And let me tell you, you don't want to be the person who ends up finding out about this while streaming, which is exactly what happened to me. So remember to have extra clothing on hand so that you can put them on when those periwinkle clothes disappear. And hopefully Larian will be able to fix that shortly. And that's it. That's all the tips that I have for you for this video. I hope that you found this helpful. If this video does well, I will certainly put a part 2 together. I've just recently entered into Act 2 of the game, so I'm sure there is a lot more to learn, and I'm happy to pass that knowledge on to you, the viewer. Thanks for watching.